I need you to stop everything you're doing and pay attention to what I am about to tell you. There is a scenario unfolding right now that could make certain types of Bitcoin holdings worthless by the time markets open Monday morning. I'm not talking about Bitcoin in your cold wallet. I'm not talking about long-term fundamentals. I am talking about specific Bitcoin positions that millions of Americans hold that are at immediate risk of catastrophic loss. This is the most urgent video I have ever recorded. The warning signs are flashing, the conditions are aligned, and if you hold the wrong type of Bitcoin exposure, you could wake up Monday to find your investment has been wiped out or frozen or settled in cash at a fraction of its real value. I am going to show you exactly which Bitcoin positions are at risk, why the danger is immediate, what the warning signs are, and how to protect yourself before the window closes. You have hours, not days. What you do between now and Monday morning could determine whether you preserve your wealth or lose it. Like this video and comment now, because engagement determines whether this warning reaches others in time. Share it with every Bitcoin investor you know, because they may not see the danger coming. Let me be very clear about what I'm warning you about. I'm not saying all Bitcoin is at risk. Bitcoin that you hold in your own wallet with your own keys is not going to become worthless. The fundamentals of Bitcoin remain incredibly bullish long term. This is not a bearish call on Bitcoin as an asset. What I am warning you about is specific paper Bitcoin products that have counterparty risk, leverage risk, or structural vulnerabilities that could crystallize into total losses this weekend. The conditions that would trigger these losses are present right now. The probability is not zero, and the consequences of being wrong are catastrophic. Let me start with the first category of Bitcoin that could be worthless by Monday. Leveraged Bitcoin ETFs and ETNs. These products use derivatives and borrowing to amplify Bitcoin price movements. If Bitcoin goes up 5%, a 2x leverage product goes up 10%. If Bitcoin goes up 10%, a 3x leverage product goes up 30%. The problem is, this works in reverse. If Bitcoin drops 10%, a 3x leverage product drops 30%. If Bitcoin drops 15%, a 3x leverage product drops 45%. We just witnessed Bitcoin drop 28% in a single day. A 3x leverage product would have lost 84% of its value in that single session. But it gets worse. Leveraged ETFs suffer from something called volatility decay. Even if Bitcoin ends up flat over time, the leveraged products can lose money due to the daily rebalancing mechanism. In highly volatile markets like we are experiencing now, this decay accelerates dramatically. Some 3x leveraged Bitcoin products have already lost 75 to 85% of their value from recent peaks. They are on the verge of becoming worthless. If we get another sharp down day on Monday, these products could effectively go to zero. And here's the part nobody tells you. These products can be delisted if they fall below certain thresholds. The issuer can close the fund and settle in cash at whatever the current value is. You would get pennies on the dollar compared to your original investment with no opportunity to recover. If you hold any leveraged Bitcoin ETF or ETN, you are at immediate risk. The volatility we are experiencing is exactly the condition that destroys these products. Get out before Monday. Accept whatever loss you have now, rather than risking total wipeout. The second category of Bitcoin at risk is Bitcoin futures contracts expiring soon. Options and futures have expiration dates. When expiration arrives, your position either settles in cash or requires physical delivery. Most retail traders cannot take physical delivery. They must close or roll their positions before expiration. The problem is that expiration weeks create violent price movements. Market makers and large traders push prices toward levels that benefit their positions. If you are on the wrong side of this movement, your contracts can become worthless before you can exit. Right now, we are approaching a major options expiration. Open interest is extremely high. The battle between bulls and bears is intense. Price could move dramatically in either direction. If you hold expiring options that are out of the money, they could become worthless Monday. Even if your options are currently in the money, a gap move against you could wipe out all your value before the market even opens. Futures and options trade 24/7 in crypto. By the time you wake up Monday, the damage may already be done. If you hold any Bitcoin futures or options positions expiring in the next few weeks, you are at immediate risk. Either close them now or be prepared for the possibility of total loss. The third category is paper Bitcoin, with counterparty risk from distressed institutions. Not all Bitcoin ETFs are created equal. Some hold actual Bitcoin in cold storage. Others use derivatives, swaps, and promises from financial institutions to simulate Bitcoin exposure. If the financial institution providing that derivative exposure fails or faces severe distress, your Bitcoin ETF could become worthless. Even if Bitcoin prices are stable, your claim is against the institution, not against actual Bitcoin. If the institution cannot pay, you get nothing. We just witnessed a $1 trillion wipeout in the stock market. Financial institutions are facing stress. Credit spreads are widening. The conditions for institutional distress are present. If a major derivative counterparty fails over the weekend, certain paper Bitcoin products could open Monday worthless or halted. Do you know who the counterparties are for your Bitcoin investment? Do you know what happens if they fail? Most retail investors have no idea. They assume their ETF is backed by Bitcoin when it is actually backed by promises from financial institutions. Check the prospectus of any paper Bitcoin product you own. Look for language about synthetic exposure, derivatives, swaps, or counterparty arrangements. If you find this language, you have counterparty risk. That risk could materialize this weekend. The fourth category is Bitcoin in exchange accounts at platforms facing liquidity stress. Your exchange account feels safe. Your Bitcoin positions show up on your screen. But what if your exchange faces a liquidity crisis? We saw this with FTX and crypto. Customer accounts that seemed secure became inaccessible overnight. Customers who thought they owned Bitcoin discovered they were unsecured creditors in a bankruptcy. It took years to get partial recovery. Exchange failures are not rare in crypto. They happen. They happen during periods of extreme market stress. We are in a period of extreme market stress. $1 trillion just evaporated from the stock market. Volatility is spiking. Liquidations are cascading. These are the conditions that create exchange failures. If your exchange fails, your Bitcoin positions are frozen. You cannot sell. You cannot transfer. You wait for the bankruptcy process to unfold. By the time you get access to your funds, if you ever do, the opportunity may have passed. I'm not saying your exchange will fail. I am saying the risk is elevated. And if it happens, it will happen suddenly over a weekend with no warning. You will wake up Monday to find your account inaccessible. Do you have all your Bitcoin with one exchange? Do you know that exchange is financial health? Do you have any Bitcoin in self-custody outside the exchange system entirely? These are questions you should be able to answer. The fifth category is Bitcoin held in foreign jurisdictions with capital controls. Some investors hold Bitcoin on international exchanges or through foreign investment vehicles. This can provide diversification benefits. It can also create risks during times of crisis. Countries implement capital controls during financial stress. They restrict the ability to move money or assets across borders. If the country where your Bitcoin is held implements controls, your Bitcoin may become inaccessible. It is not worthless in absolute terms, but it is worthless to you if you cannot access it. Geopolitical tensions are elevated. Currency markets are volatile. The conditions that trigger capital controls are present in multiple countries. If controls are implemented over the weekend, you would wake up Monday unable to access your Bitcoin. This risk is particularly acute for Bitcoin held on exchanges in countries with unstable governments, currency problems, or history of asset seizures. Know where your Bitcoin is held. Understand the political and regulatory environment of that jurisdiction. Now, let me tell you what is specifically happening right now that makes these risks immediate rather than theoretical. The $1 trillion tech crash has created cascading liquidations across the crypto system. Platforms that seemed stable last week are facing liquidity pressure this week. The stress is real and ongoing. Binance just temporarily halted Bitcoin withdrawals, citing network congestion. Users who wanted to exit were delayed. They could not withdraw immediately. This happened on the world's largest exchange. It can happen anywhere. Bitcoin experienced a 28% single-day crash just days ago. The drop wiped out leverage positions globally. It triggered liquidations across every major platform. It created exactly the kind of stress that causes failures. The volatility remains extreme. We are seeing $5,000 swings in single sessions. This level of volatility stresses every part of the crypto infrastructure: exchanges, custodians, counterparties, market makers. Everyone is under pressure. The weekend creates additional risk because traditional markets are closed, but crypto continues trading. If something breaks on Saturday, liquidity is thin, moves can be violent. By Monday morning when you check, it may be too late. The gap risk is enormous. Let me tell you specifically what could happen between now and Monday that would trigger these risks. A major exchange or financial institution could announce severe losses from the volatility. If those losses threaten solvency, regulators could intervene. Customer accounts could be frozen. A large Bitcoin ETF could announce redemption halts due to inability to source actual Bitcoin. If the divergence between paper and physical prices becomes too extreme, ETFs cannot function normally. Halts protect the fund at the expense of shareholders who cannot exit. Exchange rules could change over the weekend. CME or major crypto exchanges could announce emergency margin increases, position limits, or trading restrictions. These changes often happen when markets are less active to prevent immediate panic. You would wake up Monday to new rules that dramatically impact your positions. A major counterparty in the Bitcoin derivatives market could fail. Banks and trading firms that provide the underlying exposure for Bitcoin products could face fatal losses. Their failure would cascade through every product that depends on them. Geopolitical events could trigger market chaos Monday morning. The world does not stop because traditional markets are closed. Crypto trades 24/7. News breaks on weekends. Conflicts escalate. Policy announcements happen. Any of these could trigger gap moves in traditional markets that destroy vulnerable positions when they open. I want to be clear that I am not predicting any of these specific events will happen. I am pointing out that the conditions for them to happen are present. The risk is elevated, and the consequences of being caught unprepared are severe. Now, let me tell you how to protect yourself before Monday because you still have time to act. The first step is to inventory your positions. Make a complete list of every Bitcoin holding you have. Identify which are in self-custody, which are on exchanges, which are leveraged, which have counterparty risk. Know exactly what you own. The second step is to eliminate or reduce the highest risk positions. If you hold leveraged Bitcoin products, close them now. Accept the loss. It is better to lose some than to lose everything. Leveraged products in volatile markets are accidents waiting to happen. If you hold expiring options or futures, consider closing them before the weekend. The gap risk is enormous. Even a profitable position can become worthless by Monday if prices gap against you. If you hold paper products with unclear counterparty exposure, consider reducing your position. Move some of that exposure to spot Bitcoin on reputable exchanges or actual Bitcoin in your own wallet. Reduce the risk that someone else's failure becomes your loss. The third step is to diversify across exchanges and custodians. If you have everything at one platform, you have concentration risk. Move some Bitcoin to a second exchange. Move some Bitcoin to cold storage in your own wallet. Create redundancy so no single failure wipes you out. The fourth step is to secure some Bitcoin in your own cold wallet with your own keys. This is the ultimate protection against counterparty risk, exchange halts, platform failures, and rule changes. Bitcoin you control with your own private keys cannot be frozen by anyone. It cannot become worthless because of someone else's problems. I'm not saying convert everything to self-custody. I'm saying have some in cold storage as insurance, an allocation that would sustain you if everything else became inaccessible. Think of it as your financial lifeboat. The fifth step is mental preparation. Accept that you might wake up Monday to significant losses. Accept that positions you thought were safe might be frozen or worthless. Prepare yourself emotionally for bad news so you can respond rationally rather than panicking. If the worst happens, what will you do? Have a plan. Know what actions you will take. Make decisions now while you are calm rather than Monday morning while you are panicking. Let me address the skeptics who think I am being alarmist. You might think I'm exaggerating the risks to generate views. You might think the system is more resilient than I am suggesting. You might think that regulators would never allow the scenarios I am describing. Here's my response. Everything I am describing has happened before in crypto. Leverage products have gone to zero. Exchanges have failed. Withdrawals have been halted. Rules have been changed suddenly. Counterparties have defaulted. None of this is hypothetical. It is historical. FTX, Mt. Gox, Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, Luna, Three Arrows Capital. The list of catastrophic failures is long and recent. The difference now is that the conditions for these events are more extreme than usual. Volatility is at levels not seen since the 2020 crash. Leverage across the system is extreme. Financial stress is evident. Geopolitical risk is elevated. The probability of something breaking is higher than normal. I would rather warn you about a risk that does not materialize than stay silent about a risk that destroys you. If nothing happens this weekend and your positions are fine Monday, the cost of my warning is zero. You have lost nothing by being prepared. But if something does happen and you are not prepared, the cost could be catastrophic. Your entire Bitcoin investment wiped out. Your exchange account frozen. Your financial security destroyed. The asymmetry is clear. Preparing costs nothing. Not preparing could cost everything. Act accordingly. Let me give you my honest assessment of probabilities because you deserve transparency. I estimate the probability of a truly catastrophic event affecting Bitcoin markets this weekend at around 8 to 15%. That sounds low, but think about what it means. If there was an 8 to 15% chance your house burns down tonight, would you make sure your smoke detectors work? Would you know where the fire extinguisher is? Would you have an escape plan? Of course you would. That risk level demands preparation. The same logic applies here. An 8 to 15% chance of catastrophic loss in your Bitcoin investments demands preparation. You do not ignore that risk, you mitigate it. And honestly, 8 to 15% may be conservative given current conditions. The stress in the crypto system is severe. The volatility is extreme. The interconnections between platforms mean that problems spread quickly. One failure can cascade into many. Prepare now. Reduce risk now. Secure your positions now. You have hours until Monday. Use them wisely. Drop a comment telling me what positions you're most concerned about. Your questions help me understand what topics need urgent coverage. Share this video with every Bitcoin investor you know. They may not see the danger coming. Your share could save them from catastrophic loss. The clock is ticking. Monday morning is coming. Will you be ready?